You make cosplays, but you don't compete? No, you're not a real cosplayer. You have an OnlyFans account? You're not a maker. You're using foam to make armor, not metal. I'm sorry, you only have how many followers? You do know that anime you're cosplaying from is like 6 months old, right? Wow. Get a load of this untrendy cosplayer. You make money off cosplay, sell out. You don't make money off cosplay, loser. You're too fat to be that character. Your boobs aren't big enough to be that character. You're the wrong race to be that character. You're not booking brand deals every month. You didn't make your shoes. Get a load of these losers. You're not muscular enough to be Batman. Your costume isn't screen accurate. And now your cosplay isn't creative enough. You haven't won 95 awards and 300 medals of cosplay honor. You're just in it to be popular. You're not good enough. 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 I just wanted to hop on real quick and talk about something we've been discussing in my Discord a little bit. I've been reading through the messages and everyone's talking about like the pressure they feel, and also all over Twitter with the recent like trendy cosplay discussion, like keeping up with the trends. There's so much pressure to do that. There's pressure to be the right body type, the right color, to make the right way, or to model the right way, or to do this or do that, or blah, 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 blah. Heavy. And I don't have a magic answer that just like fixes it all. I wish I did, but that doesn't exist. But we have to be honest that there is a lot of pressure in our cosplay community, and sometimes that pressure, well, it definitely leads to mental health issues for sure, but it can also lead to people quitting something they're super passionate about. I know a lot of people who have quit cosplay because they felt a lot of pressure to do things they didn't want to do. And it sucks because this is an amazing creative community. And usually, like, if you go to a therapist and you tell them you're feeling a lot of stress and pressure, oftentimes they'll tell you to do something creative, get out of your head, do something creative to help you. But then we bring the pressure and stress into the creative thing. Why? And I don't know why. I have some ideas. I think a big part of it comes from personal insecurities and people imposing those on other people, whether they do it knowingly or subconsciously. I definitely think that there's an element of that. There's also an element of personal insecurity. Some of the pressure we feel, I think we have to take some responsibility for. I can only speak to myself. I've been pressured by external forces, but I've also pressured myself to be things I'm not, or to do things I don't even want to do. I used to feel a ton of pressure to make like 1 million costumes super fast, be the fucking toppest tier builder, even though I hadn't been building long. All it did was damage me. And I realized that because of my own insecurities, I made myself very prone to feeling pressured. I opened myself up to that to some extent. I don't want to come off like victim blamey because I'm not blaming you. Like, no, that's not what I mean. Just what I mean is that sometimes we can, if we're a little raw and a little insecure about what we're doing, we can leave ourselves open to those types of things. And it's super easy to tell people like, get thicker skin. I've been doing this for some time now. My skin is pretty thick compared to what it used to be, but there are still some comments that I'm like, ow, wow. I'm not talking about people outside of our community. I'm talking about community pressure and community. And while, again, I don't know what the solution to this is, I don't know what fixes this, and I don't think it's something you can eradicate completely in any community. There's always going to be people who pressure others to do things their way. I think their way is the right and the only way. But I think that as individuals who make up the community as a whole, like, we are the cogs in the machine, right? The community as a whole is representative of all of us as individuals, and we can each do our part. And so for me, what that looks like is if I see somebody getting pressured or bullied or whatever online, like stepping in and maybe not necessarily getting involved in that drama and making that worse, but just saying something really encouraging or kind, sort of the opposite of what just happened, because I think we can drown out that pressure. And if you're the type of person who does think that the way you do things is the right way and how somebody else does it is wrong, you need to sit yourself down and have a discussion about that. Like, why do you feel that way? Because it's a creative community. This is artwork, however it looks, whether your art is building the costumes or taking pretty photos in costumes that you purchased or put together out the closet, whatever. It's all a part of cosplay and this amazing community. And no one should be making somebody else feel like the way they do things is wrong. I like that we're talking more about the pressure we put on each other and that the community does as a whole. I think that's going to be a big help, discussing those trending cosplays. Again, you don't need to keep up with the trends. Media and the internet, I feel like that has become part of being online. But is it a part we can change? Yes. Do we have a clear roadmap for that change? I'm not sure, but I think it would be very helpful to have more and more creators coming out and just being like, I too have felt pressured for X, Y, and Z, and here's how I dealt with that pressure, and here's what I think we can do as a community. And then we can have a really big discussion about what we as individuals need to do. I know it's helpful to me to know that I'm not alone in feeling pressured. I feel it, you feel it, everyone at some point in their time in any community, really, because I think it's human nature to some extent, but everybody has felt some kind of pressure from their community to be a certain way or do things a certain way. And it's helpful to hear others speaking out and saying, no, you don't need to do that costume in 2 days when the thing releases. No, you don't need to be this color to be this character, or this size to be this character, or this muscular to be Superman. You don't. We just need, as a community, to like talk about it and say those things and say it until we're blue in the face. That's our responsibility as community members, right? Is to talk about the issues and solve the issues, or figure out a roadmap to solving the issues. And I think that's the stage we're in with the pressure thing right now. And I hear a lot about TikTok. A lot of people feel real pressure to make this short form content, but they're already doing a million other things. You don't have to. There's nothing you have to do. That's one of the things that I feel like has helped me the most when it comes to like pressure. I used to feel like I had to do everything ever. I had to make all the things, style all the wigs, do all the makeup, do all the marketing, do all the business, do all the conventions, talk to all the people, do this, do that, do that. Wonder why I burnt the fuck out last year, because of those external pressures that I was internalizing. I do think that we have a slight personal responsibility. Obviously, people shouldn't be pressuring us and telling us how to do things. But what I just mean by that is that we can choose how open we are to that pressure to some extent. Like, it takes work. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do. I'm just saying it's a thing that is possible. So I've had to learn how to like close myself to some of that external pressure, protect myself and my energy and what I enjoy doing. You don't have to be doing everything. If everybody's jumping on the TikTok bandwagon and you're like, I really fucking don't want to do short form content, I don't like TikTok, I don't like being on video, whatever it may be, don't do it. You don't have to do it to be a part of the community, to be a valuable part of the community, because we're all valuable members of this community. So I think step one is with ourselves, just, closing that door, that pressure door as best we can. Again, not easy. It's a hard thing to do. Any change, especially from within, takes work. But it usually is rooted in insecurities as well. Sit down with yourself, address the insecurities you have in your head, and how does that play into the pressure. Like, I was always insecure about not being accepted and by the maker community, not feeling good enough, not feeling this, blah, blah, blah. I opened myself up to pressure from everywhere possible. And I'm not saying I feel no pressure now, because that's impossible, right? Like, of course I do. Of course there's times where I'm like, oh, I need to be doing that. But what I do now is I've trained myself to catch myself in those moments when I'm getting ready to fall down that rabbit hole, right? And I stop and I go, no, there's nothing I need to do. So that's like our personal responsibility. And then just calling people out when you see them pressuring people, call them out. I'm not saying start drama or be rude or attack anybody, but you can call people out in a responsible way and be like, hey, that's not nice. Hey, no, that's not accurate. I disagree with you. You don't need to do X to be Y. I really wish I had a magic answer that was just like, do this and you'll never feel pressure again. But that's not life, unfortunately. It is annoying that we have so much like toxic pressure in our community. But I do think that this is a problem we can solve. We just have to talk about it. We just have to be open to conversation and listening. And if someone comes to you and tells you like, hey, you made me feel pressured to do this when you said that, like be open to having that conversation. I would much prefer, instead of somebody just feeling like, wow, Sophie made me feel pressured to be a certain way when she said something and maybe it was unconscious and I didn't know that I had made you feel that way. It would mean the world to me if you popped in my inbox and were like, hey girl, listen, you said this and it really made me feel pressured to be this way and now I feel bad about myself and I want to talk to you about that. We're going to have a discussion and I'm going to figure out how to fix my behavior right there. And I think that most people are that way. I firmly believe that most people are good, wonderful people who only want the best for others. Of course there's bad apples, but like, let's not focus on them. Let's focus on the good and the positive and building personal fortitude and helping others build fortitude and discussing what specifically makes us feel pressured. That's another big thing I noticed is when I was asking people about the pressure they feel, people have trouble often like pinpointing it, with obviously some exceptions, but there's just a general like pressure. And I think that's because it just happens so much. And we also get this image in our head of how things are supposed to be that's just not accurate, which again goes back to the personal responsibility of having that conversation with ourselves, closing ourselves a little bit to the opportunity for pressure to get in. It's not going to get rid of all of it, but I think it does help a little bit. It certainly did for me. I know that what works for me won't work for everybody, but I just wanted to share that with you guys. And yeah, I wish I had a better answer for this question that I was asked, but I just wanted to say that I feel it, I see it, I call it out when I see it, and I'm always, always, always open to discussing how we can make this community a better, more inclusive, comfortable place. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Help me understand even more where a lot of this pressure comes from. Tell me where you have felt pressure in the past. Don't call people out maybe in the comments. I don't want it to turn into like a shit fest. You know what? Do what you want. Do freedom of speech. Do what you want down there. But like, what has made you feel pressure? Did that make you want to leave cosplay? Have you never felt any pressure? Do you feel like there are times you can remember where you pressured somebody on accident, unconsciously, whatever, that you were called out? Would you want people to come to you and talk to you if they've made you or you've made them feel pressured ever? Like, I don't know. Let's start a discussion about this and we can dive deeper into this in another video. But however you choose to cosplay, it's been said a million times and I hope it's said a billion more, is correct, as long as you're not hurting anybody or being awful, obviously. But there's not a wrong way to do this because it's art and art is subjective. Let's just talk about it and do better. We can do it, because we're not going to stop the internet from moving at lightning fast speeds, but we can relieve some of that pressure within our own community. I'm excited to see what you guys say down in the comments. Thank you for listening to me ramble about this. I love you guys so much. Have a goodest day. So I was talking to my community.